It is all kicking off. The love affair between Nigel Farage and Elon Musk was going so well. I mean, it was just this beautiful fairy tale. I mean, some might have regarded it as absolutely ludicrous that a British politician claiming to be a man of the people against the elite, a proud defender of British sovereignty, was going cap in hand to the richest man on earth, a US plutocrat who was preparing to throw a vast sum of money at Farage's Reform UK party in a shameless intervention in British democracy. That's what was happening, of course. Farage, long supposedly a bestie of Donald Trump, was now cavorting with the most powerful figure in the court of the president-elect at Mar-a-Lago. A gruesome marriage, not least as Elon Musk has clearly been radicalising at a dramatic pace, increasingly veering off into the more extreme elements of the far right. Well, that truly touching love affair, which has certainly captured all of our hearts, has come to a devastating end as Musk turns on his former comrade in arms. Now, there's certainly some instructive lessons in this drama. Bit of context, Elon Musk and the American far right have been having their own little Barney. Even as Musk becomes ever more extreme, he's still a businessman who wants to make money. So he is accordingly advocating for H-1B visas for foreign workers to come to Silicon Valley on the grounds that insufficient Americans are studying science and technology. He even turned to what he called hateful, unrepentant racists, who he said would absolutely be the downfall of the Republican Party if they're not removed. That did not go down well. It caused fury amongst the MAGA base, many of whom are frankly biological racists who don't want anyone who isn't white coming to the United States in any circumstances. That tension is itself interesting. It's got a long history. That history includes the long, tawdry relationship between the far right and big business, and also the inherent contradictions in far right thought. The far right is based on lies and bigotry, so that's inevitable. The Nazis, of course, notoriously forged an alliance with German big business who helped them into power, and then big business themselves profited from Nazi crimes like the Holocaust. Racism was clearly central to Nazi ideology, and yet even that was subject to realpolitik. For example, Japanese people were characterised as honorary Aryans, and of course Nazi Germany ended up in alliance with Imperial Japan. Sorry about the detour. It is perfectly reasonable to say there are differences between what you would call the mainstream far right today and the Nazis, though I'd note the mainstream far right is radicalising fast, and many of their figures are pretending to be more moderate than they really are. But in the case of the US, many of the leading figures in MAGA are clearly white supremacists and neo-Nazis. Anyway, MAGA turns on Musk, and so Musk then clearly decides he needs to undo the damage, do some damage limitation, because Musk could not scream more loudly someone who is desperate to be liked, and he was clearly blindsided by the backlash he got from Trump's base. So he goes in hard, backing the far-right AfD in Germany, and in particular sticks his oar into British politics, backing the repeatedly convicted far-right criminal Tommy Robinson, as well as variously demanding the overthrow of the British government by the British King over the raping and grooming of white girls by Britons of Pakistani origin in certain locations, in doing so completely erasing the rape and sexual assault of children of any ethnicity by white Britons, which is, if you care about the issue, the grotesque, sickening issue of child abuse, then you should take it as an evil in its own terms, not to further another agenda. Clearly that's not what Elon Musk is doing. And in the process, repeatedly signal-boosted hideous racism. Now, Farage thereby had a problem. His Reform UK party had its best showing at the last general election, winning over 4 million votes and securing 5 seats, with polling since showing his party support has increased. But he knows that Tommy Robinson is toxic. Robinson is someone who led the English Defence League, who were a bunch of right-wing thugs, far right-wing thugs, recruited originally from football hooliganism, whose demonstrations often descend into alcohol and cocaine-fueled thuggish mayhem. Here's the sorts of things Tommy Robinson has said. In 2011, he threatened the whole Muslim community of Britain. Not an exaggeration. He said, every single Muslim watching this, on 7/7, you got away with killing and maiming British citizens. You'd better understand that we have built a network from one end of the country to the other end, and the Islamic community will feel the full force of the English Defence League if we see any of our British citizens killed, maimed, or hurt on British soil ever again. So he's saying he will just take retribution, violent retribution, against what is now the 4 million strong British Muslim community if British citizens are targeted by terrorists. He's been arrested and jailed multiple times. He was first given a 12-month prison sentence in 2005 for assaulting an off-duty prison officer. He got a community order in 2011 for a football brawl. He got jailed for 10 months in 2013 for using someone else's passport to enter the US. He got jailed for 18 months for mortgage fraud. He subsequently got jailed for interfering with a grooming gang trial in Leeds, which literally threatened to collapse the trial. That's contempt of court exists for a reason, because you have to have a fair trial. If that is violated, then the trial can collapse, and then people who have committed terrible crimes then get away with it. Quite serious, actually. Well, more than a bit serious. He then made false accusations about Syrian refugees schoolboy, lost the libel case, then taken against him. It was ordered to pay £100,000. He then breached an injunction by repeating the libels, pleaded guilty to doing so, and therefore was jailed for 18 months for contempt of court. It should also be noted that there were numerous examples of sexual predators, including those preying on children, in the ranks of the English Defence League. The far-right does not have a good record on this. Now, would you believe most people in Britain don't like Tommy Robinson for some reason? The people who love him, and they do adore him, are a very small number of radicalised extremists. As the polling shows, 4% of the British population have a very positive view of Tommy Robinson, 7% have a somewhat positive view, whilst 41% have a very negative view, 8% say a somewhat negative view. So it's about, dwarfs the people who have a positive view, a huge margin. Now, clearly Reform UK would tank if they hitched themselves to this hateful thug, and Farage knows that. Unfortunately, Musk has become infatuated with Tommy Robinson, tweeting, for example, "Free Tommy Robinson." Musk promoted a tweet suggesting that Tommy Robinson's in jail because of grooming gangs, which is just not true at all. So then Farage goes on TV and fact-checks Musk about Tommy Robinson.
He's very supportive of me. He's very supportive of the party. He sees Robinson as one of these people that fought against the grooming gangs. But of course, the truth is, Tommy Robinson's in prison, not for that, but for contempt of court for the third occasion. But I mean, equally, there are people in Britain who think that Robinson is a political prisoner. That's the narrative that he's pushed out. That's how he earns his living, but it isn't quite true.
Would you accept Robinson as a member of your party? You put UKIP over the association with him last time.
No. Look, Robinson has been to prison many, many times for many, many things. Mortgage fraud, passport problems, you name it. He's got his own campaign. We are a political party aiming to win the next general election. He's not what we need.
Now, Farage doesn't deserve any kudos here. He just realises Tommy Robinson is toxic, which of course he is. But Farage remained at pains to show how much he loves Musk.
And Trump is an old school businessman in the sense that if you're loyal to him, he's loyal to you. And that's what friendships are based on.
And is his friend, Elon Musk, now your friend? And is he going to give you millions of pounds?
Well, that's a real question, isn't it? Now, forget about $100 million being talked about in newspapers.
Are you going to give him money?
That is for the birds.
Is he going to give you money?
He may well do. But it's got to be legal. He's got to be comfortable with it. He may well give us money. Whether he does or not, I'll tell you what he gives us. With huge numbers of young people, he makes us look cool.
Is the reason you hope he's going to give you money, is that why you don't want to criticise him?
I think I've made it perfectly clear that I don't agree with everything he stands for, but I do believe in free speech. I think he's a hero, and I said that well before any potential money was offered.
Oof, a hero, he says. And then Musk comes out and says the Reform Party needs a new leader. Farage doesn't have what it takes. Brutal. Poor old Nige then comes out broken-hearted and tweets, "Well, this is a surprise. Elon is a remarkable individual, but on this, I'm afraid I disagree. My view remains that Tommy Robinson is not right for reform, and I never sell out my principles." Now, look, to be honest, Musk seems increasingly unstable. I actually think he's having an episode of some description right now. If you look at his Twitter feed, it is weird. But Farage's naked opportunism has blown up in his face. He can't turn around now and say British democracy should belong to its people, not to billionaires, not least billionaires who don't even have anything to do with this country. He can't even say it's up to Reform UK members to decide who their leader is, given they don't actually have any voting rights. But perhaps I shouldn't get too amused. Musk is politically very dangerous, using his vast power to promote extremism, attempting to destabilise democracies. He's using his position to promote hateful extremism at a time when hateful extremism is on the rise, not least, of course, because of the rise of Donald Trump, which he's a key part of. Farage is too moderate for him. That tells its own story, and Musk is now the most powerful figure in the court of the soon-to-be US president. And it is like the US version of the National Front has taken over the only superpower on Earth.